Baseball is so close. I can feel it. I can smell it. I can taste it. I can hear it. Is there any more senses? Are those a 5? It's the CHGO White Sox podcast. CHGO White Sox podcast. I'm in a little bubble. I'm Bubble Boy, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, my producer, Sarah.
Who is a mess?
We got the TV on mute.
It's because the TV screwed me off. Late. That's why.
You know, who needs to be prompt and on time? Hello, everyone. Welcome out into the CHGO studios here in Studio West of our West Loop offices in downtown Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. That's Sarah. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. On today's show, we'll be talking about the news that the White Sox signed Erick Fedde. It's not currently official, but we'll look at Fedde, what he has done since leaving the White Sox, and we will talk about the current shape of the rotation. We also have our guy B-Dams writing in. We'll talk about the full lineup for the White Sox as we are just one day away from pitchers and catchers reporting for the Chicago White Sox. I guess 6 days away from the first full workout and 11 days from the first game against the Cubs. Spring training is just around the corner, and it does feel like this 2026 White Sox team is likely, you know, not everyone's here, but for the most part, the people that they're going to pick from, I think, is here. The people that, you know, will likely be on the 26 man roster come opening day are on the team or in camp, and I don't think there's going to be many names added to this list. Maybe there's some that are cut off teams and the White Sox decide to pick up. But for right now, this does seem like, you know, the 60 or so that have a shot to make it onto the 26-man roster come March 26. If you do have any thoughts, let us know in the chat. Let's get to the news of the day. Erick Fedde signs a deal with the White Sox. There so far are no reports on how long, for how much. Joel Sherman of the New York Post said that the White Sox have signed a deal with Erick Fedde. James Fegan of Sox Machine also saying the White Sox are in agreement with a deal with Fedde. He has to report tomorrow, but the main thing is that tomorrow the 60-day IL spots open up. So likely, Kai Busch, Drew Thorpe, Prelander Baroa, all guys that had Tommy John last year, will likely be put onto the 60-day IL. And then you don't have to DFA a player. The White Sox are currently at 40 men on their 40-man roster. This would open up 3 spots. Fedde would take one of the spots, so they'd be at around 38 spots for the 40-man roster, giving them some maneuverability or flexibility to pick up some players. I know Anthony Banda was released by the Dodgers, or at least DFA'd by the Dodgers. Maybe Banda is a person that they look into. So maybe there are some more additions. Maybe I did speak too soon. But Fedde does seem to be like the final true signing. Maybe they'll pick up players off waivers. Maybe there's some small trades on the fringes. Maybe Lenyn Sosa finds a new home. But for the most part, I do think that this roster is fairly close to finish. And you look at the current money that they've spent. I didn't pull this clip, but I should have. Josh Nelson, when he was on this show back in November, projected an $85 million payroll for the Chicago White Sox. If you look on screen, here's the 26 men that I'm currently projecting to make the team, and that sits with payroll plus buyout money plus dead money, subtracting the money that Boston sent over for Jordan Hicks. They sit at $84,660,000. So pretty much $85 million. So Josh's projection it was pretty bang on. I don't know if he got that number straight from the White Sox. He might have, because they spent $85 million. Whether it was Luis Robert Jr. on this team or not, the White Sox did go out and spend, you know, pretty much $85 million. We don't have a final number on Fedde. I'm projecting $3 million. Chris Paddock signed with the Marlins for 1 year, $4 million, with I think $500,000 in incentives. So I'm just assuming Fedde got less than Paddock. We'll have to see the final number. So maybe it's not exactly, 84.6, maybe it's 84.2, but they're pretty close to 85 million, like Josh Nelson told us back in November. So the thing is, with Fedde, this isn't exciting. This is very much a fifth starter. This is a guy that will be eating innings for the Chicago White Sox, and the only way that he is not eating innings for the White Sox, he's either bounced back to first half 2024 Erick Fedde, or he is Erick Fedde and he's bad and they DFA him. I really don't see a lot of outcomes for Erick Fedde besides him being, just an inning eater, just a Chad inning eater, if we can use that phrase. This is a guy that hopefully will go out and give you 150, gave you 170 in 2024, only 140 last year. He was DFA'd and cut. So, hopefully they can get 150 innings out of Erick Fedde. It's fine. He was a negative player last year, 5.49 WAR or 5.49 ERA. The FIP was 5.2. Still no great shakes there. He was striking out less than he ever did, or at least less than he did in 2024. 5.3 strikeouts per nine to 4.3 walks per nine in 2025 to 7.8 Ks per nine in 2024 to 2.6 walks per nine. So maybe control is a big thing that he needs to really step up with. But I just don't think he's that sort of guy. When you look at his success with the White Sox, he had something to prove. He came over after his great success in the KBO, and I think wanted to show that he had major league talent within him. And I think a lot of the first 12 of those starts was fumes for Erick Fedde. So judging him on the past, 52 starts, he's been a pretty mid pitcher. He's there to eat innings. He's there to pitch every 5 days. But I don't think you should be expecting first half Erick Fedde from 2024. Sarah, I think we do have some stuff plus numbers from Fedde. Let's look into that. I have two numbers for you, 2024 first and then 2025. Here were his numbers for just the White Sox. And this is from @TJ Stats. This is from the beginning of the year to July 27th, his last start with the White Sox. And the big thing that sticks out for me from this graph to 2025 is he does start throwing his sinker more. Sinker will become his primary pitch. Maybe he does go back to his cutter. His cutter was also a better pitch back then. In 2024, it was sharper, I would say, had a little bit more tilt to it. You can look at the IVB number. It's 7.2. You could look at the horizontal break number. It's negative 2.8. Those numbers will be closer to 9 in 2025. That horizontal break number will be closer to like negative 1 something, right? So he's getting less horizontal break. It's dropping less. He's getting less inverted break, or he's getting more inverted break, which means it's not kind of dropping. It's not cutting as much. So maybe they can try to cut his fastball a little bit more, make that the primary pitch, and then go back to cutter, sinker, sweeper like he was using. Use four-seamer rarely, I think mainly at the top of the zone to try to get swings and misses. But then you go to 2025, Sarah. Velocity really hasn't changed for Fedde. He still is the same athlete. The pitch velocity is around the same. You can look at that cutter, 9.1 induced vertical break compared to negative 1.3 horizontal break. That was a negative 2.8, and it was a 7 number. So the cutter wasn't as sharp, but that really affected the TJ stuff there. I think it was a 97 with the White Sox compared to a 92. So his stuff wasn't as sharp. So maybe this is something that Zach Bove can hone in with Fedde, and they can tap into that pre-2024. But really what they are signing Erick Fedde to do is go out there and pitch. And Jeremy Bradford going out there and saying, cheap Jerry at it again. I don't think this is the wrong take. I think Paddock would have been a lot nicer. Some people brought up, my guy Tommaso on Twitter brought up that Paddock isn't that impressive. Fedde had 3 100-plus ERA seasons where Paddock doesn't have a single one. Paddock is younger. Paddock has always been consistently over a WAR. He's never been a negative player. He's 29. I do think that he has a better fastball than Fedde. Fedde obviously has 2 variations of a fastball, but Paddock's fastball, I think, is better. He does have a four-seam fastball. That can just be his main four-seam fastball. Him adding a cutter or a sinker wouldn't be the end of the world, but I think his four-seam fastball's better than Fedde's cutter or sinker. And then that changeup is much better than Fedde's sweeper. That sweeper really can be only thrown to right-handed batters. And then you look at the slider for him, it's not an overwhelming pitch, but he does get a decent amount of whiff rate. You can look to, Sarah, if you want to go back to the 2024 real quick, you look bottom left, you could see the whiff percentage next to the expected weighted on base percentage. The two things that stick out for me with Fedde's cutter with the White Sox, 24.5% whiff rate on his cutter, 21.1% whiff rate on his sinker. That's a crazy whiff rate for sinkers. That is just not really sustainable, especially with a, grade of 27. I don't think that's exactly correct for Fedde, but his stuff doesn't really play up well. If you go to 2025, you could see the whiff rate. It falls off. I mean, these numbers, I think, are at 8 for his sinker, 9.8% for a sinker, so that's nearly a 10% drop-off. And then you look at the cutter, it's about a 4% drop-off, so it's not as bad with the cutter. And maybe, again, that cutter can bounce back a little bit. But the sinker was absolutely overperforming with his first round with the White Sox. So this is a guy that I think should just be fine, really shouldn't move anything, but I do think the White Sox picked the cheaper option here. They got outspent by the Marlins, and I don't know if they were into Paddock. Maybe they just did not like Paddock in-house, and that's their own decision. But I do think Paddock's going to make more money. I don't understand, especially when we had about $400,000 to play with. If 85 was the hard cap, I do think that I think Paddock was the better spend. Adrian jumping out and saying that they might have felt more comfortable with Fedde for the price. They've already fixed him. Again, if it's $1 million, I don't understand what the real issue is. Derek Hill's getting $900K with a $100,000 signing bonus, right? He's making $1 million. The difference between Paddock and Fedde might just be Derek Hill. You should be able to live with that. And I do just think Paddock has more sellability. Come the trade deadline, I think that there's more, hey, we fixed Chris Paddock, a guy that's really never been unlocked, compared to Fedde, who I think might be having a decent first half, but he is a guy that can fall off. Him having 8K per nine and a 2.5 walk per nine those are very nice numbers. He's just never really shown that before. And, what really fixed him was going to the KBO. Him going to the KBO, he was able to unlock that sweeper. But as we've seen since 2023, the sweeper has fallen out of favor. The sweeper has become more hittable. So the thing that unlocked Erick Fedde has been sort of snuffed out by Major League Baseball. I just don't think that this is a guy that's going to yield great success. This is not a guy that's going to get another prospect at the trade deadline, where Paddock, I think, could have had that potential. Paddock could have had the potential to just, suck and eat innings like Fedde. He also, I think, had the potential to be flipped, where Fedde, I think, come September 2025, maybe they let him walk a la Savale near the end of the year so he could find a postseason home, whatever. But I do think that Fedde will likely be gone, or at least, still be here in September. And if he's gone, it's under the White Sox volition. I don't think anyone's trading for Erick Fedde. And I think, the difference between Paddock and Fedde is negligible to me in my video game GM brain. So I don't know if, I was projecting Paddock to make $7.5 to $8 million. So a $4 million pay cut sounds great to me. $1 million difference there. The math adds up in this brain. I don't know if it actually adds up on their papers, but yeah, I think it's a fine move. Right now, the rotation looks like Shane Smith, Davis Martin, Anthony Kay, Sean Burke, Erick Fedde. I feel very confident that will be the 5. I'd be surprised if it's anyone else. Kai Busch coming off of Tommy John. He'll likely be on the 60-day IL, opening up a spot. Same with Drew Thorpe. Tanner McDougal, I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if Tanner McDougal was making the opening day roster. If he has a really great spring training, he's a very well-adjusted dude. Patrick Norton of who used to write the newsletter, RIP the CHGO newsletter. He was saying he was most impressed with Tanner McDougal when we did our interviews at Sox Fest, and I completely agree with him. Tanner does feel primed to make that jump to the major league level. So if McDougal looks good in spring training, I don't think you could rule it out. Duncan Davitt was added to the 40-man roster before the Rule 5 draft, so maybe he could be in contention if he has a decent spring training. Jonathan Cannon was brought up, but I think, Cannon didn't show enough. I mean, Cannon had his chance in 2024 and 2025, and then he was sent down to AAA, and it was really because he didn't have command. He had that great 10K strikeout performance against Tampa, but was really unable to find out anything of success throughout 2025. And then Sandlin, the guy they just got from Boston, Getz said that he could possibly win it out of spring training, which I do think is fair or possible. But if they are going to stretch him out, I think give him that shot at least in Charlotte. Have him just pitch 2 months and see if he can get into a rhythm, because he did have to switch from bullpen to starting. Maybe Sandlin makes the rotation, but I think it's fairly confident Shane Smith, Martin, Burke, Kay, and Fedde are your 5 to crack spring training, or to crack the opening day roster post-spring training. We'll talk about Sean Newcomb in a bit. Shout out to Ryan in the chat. If you do have any thoughts, let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and make sure you're subscribed to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We're going to take a break here in a second. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Sign up using code CHGO365. New customers, when you make your first bet of $5, whether it wins or loses, you get $200 in bonus bets, and those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, money lines, player props, same-game parlays, futures, whatever your heart desires. Right now, NBA is in full swing. You can gamble on the Chicago team taking on the New York, not the blue and yellow one or blue and orange one tonight in basketball. I do think that it's likely Josh Giddey will be out. So maybe Anthony Simons player prop. I do love Gershon Yabusele. Maybe a Gershon Yabusele prop. Check out our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Use code CHGO365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet of $5 wins or loses. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. In-app only. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Huel. Get your fuel for the day, your workout, from our friends over at Huel. You have the current Black Label ready to drink protein drinks that I have in my hands. I have used these as meal substitutes. I've forgotten my lunch plenty of time in 2026, and I am able to bounce back with our friends over at Huel. It's a meal replacement for those that aren't working out, but if you are working out, you get 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no official sweeteners, colors, or flavors. It's gluten-free, and it's under $5 per meal. It's a complete meal that you can grab and go, whether you are active or not. It goes down very deliciously. This is the chocolate flavor. This is the chocolate peanut butter flavor. There you go. Check out Huel today with our exclusive offer, 15% off online with our code WhiteSox15. It's for new customers only at Huel.com/White Sox 15. Thank you to Huel for partnering with our show. And if you're busy, this is a game changer. Welcome back to the CHGO White Sox podcast. We'll talk more about the rotation. If you do have any thoughts about Chris Paddock, maybe Nick Martinez, Erick Fedde, let us know in the chat. I wouldn't like the Martinez number of 13 million, but the Paddock number of 4 million, especially if Fedde. I mean, Fedde's going to make at least $1 million, right? I'd be surprised if he's making just $1 million. I don't think the difference is going to be that crazy between Paddock and Fedde. So I would have rather them, they cheaped out at the dollar section, really, is what they did. And that just doesn't sit well with me. But let's go to the big takeaway, because this is a team that really doesn't deserve grace. And if they do mess up, it should be pointed out. This is the big takeaway presented by Xfinity. Imagine that. We have to talk about Munetaka Murakami's first day in Glendale, Arizona, because it was very, very exciting seeing Japanese media take very weird, like, bush shots or shots from the bush of the big takeaway is I don't know how to speak. More that, the Japanese media is on the fences looking into practice, and it was very exciting to see Murakami in a White Sox garb practicing with Riku Nishida. But then Murakami on Instagram posts the photo of the left locker, and you could see that his name is spelled Munetaka Murakami, and you could see the question mark with a little laugh face, and now today it's been updated, and if you zoom in real close enough, you could see that the I is taped over with an A, and it does now say Munetaka Murakami, but come on. I mean, this is your biggest signing of the offseason. Google is very, very readily accessible, especially with great Xfinity Wi-Fi. It's largely absurd that you're making this mistake, and I understand that, hey, things can't be made in an exact day, but like just fixing it with a piece of tape is so absurd. first of all, like the mistake being made that you misspell his name and that's being sent to print and you make, 50 of these nameplates. There is the spelling error in Murakami's name. But like, if that process is so rushed, you'd assume Fedde would have one tomorrow. Like, you can't just print an entire new one. You just have to go and cut out an A and then like prop it into the old mistaken nameplate. Maybe there's a new one being ordered with no tape on it and they're just fixing it for the moment. But this is your big moment. This is your big free agent. This is your first endeavor into Japanese baseball in the past like 20 years, and you're immediately making a mistake. It is a fairly funny mistake, but it's also fairly embarrassing that you just can't get a single thing right. I want to be excited about Murakami. I also don't think he's going to be here for longer than 2 years. And it's not because they messed up the nameplate. I think it's mainly because they're just not serious enough as an organization. I think Chris Getz is doing a decent job, but this team is nowhere near being a full-fledged powerhouse in Major League Baseball. We'll be lucky to avoid 100 losses in 2026. That was the big takeaway presented by Xfinity. Imagine that. Imagine spelling a guy's name right.
All I'm saying is that when it comes to people's names who, I'm not from Japan, I don't speak Japanese, I will triple, quadruple check on Google to make sure that I am spelling these people's names right, because I don't speak the language. I don't know. So I feel like for people like that, I am really going to make sure I'm on it. I get spelling, like I could spell Luis Robert Jr., I could spell all these other, simple names, whatever, but I'm not going to get wrong. I'm not going to spell our Japanese player's name wrong. I will not do that.
I had to check about Erick Fedde's name. He's a former White Sox, and I had to make sure that he had the CK, that it wasn't just...
I had to make sure he didn't have a Y on Fedde, because that's where my brain was at today.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
But I Googled it.
E-R-I-C, E-R-I-C,
yeah.
E-R-I-K,
I Googled it, though, before I typed it out, so that way people wouldn't be mad at me.
Even when I produce Cubs, Joey Christopoulos, he caught me recently. I Google his name every time we put his in the podcast thing, because I cannot spell Christopoulos off my dome, or at least I don't feel confident enough, because if I do mess it up, I'll be even more embarrassed by just misspelling my coworker's name. And it's like, I know his name. I could type it into Google correctly every time, but I'm also just double checking. And yeah, hey, Drake Foss saying, we must have missed out on Bruce Harper and Manny Machado with an IE. Pretty decent. It'd be like if you spelled my name S-H-A-U-N. Or S-H-A-W-N. Those are just not the proper way to spell Sean. It's not the proper way to spell Munetaka, because it's Munetaka. It's not Munetako. It's not Munetaki with an I. Or it's not Munetaki with a Y. It's not Munetaki with an E. It's Munetaka. Seems very clear-cut if you just Google it. But no one did. We just rushed this out. Couldn't rush out a new one that spells Munetaka, but we could tape something up there. Way to go, Sox. Anyways, let's get to Drake's other comment. Drake said, if it's in the same price range as Canning, this move will sour for me. So Griffin Canning is throwing and just pitched, I think, at UCLA for teams. Canning is a name that we've brought up before. Former Angel, former Met last year, threw about 16 games with the Mets, and then suffered an Achilles injury. Let me just double check. Yeah, Will Salmon yesterday tweeted that Griffin Canning threw for teams at UCLA on Friday. Last June, he ruptured his left Achilles, which was shaping up as a solid season. He's up to 93 miles per hour, which is a little exciting. I don't know what the timeline specifically for ruptured left Achilles is. I always thought it was like a year plus. So the fact that he's already throwing 93 is a little bit exciting. I wouldn't rule out Canning. James Fox said that the White Sox are still interested. So if the White Sox are able to get Fedde and Canning, and Canning's able to get back by June, or again, if it's a 1 year injury, if he's back by June, maybe Fedde is just a placeholder. And maybe that's the difference between Fedde and Paddock, is that they're interested in both Fedde and Canning more than they are Paddock. So if that's the case, I wouldn't hate the Fedde and Canning duo. But now, to make it a little bit more digestible, I think you have to go get Canning. Because if it's just Fedde, you're signing a guy that was on 3 teams last year and really didn't make that much movement with any team. I mean, he was decent with the Brewers, 125 ERA plus, but still 520 whip or 520 FIP, outperformed his actual ERA. So I don't know if this is a guy that I want to tie my team to, but hey, maybe if you get a couple horses rather than just this one horse, I'll be a little bit more down. All right, let's get into the bullpen. We already talked about the rotation. Shane Smith, Davis Martin, Sean Burke, Anthony Kay, Erick Fedde is what we're projecting for the White Sox. Looking at the bullpen, that does move Sean Newcomb to the bullpen, and he becomes your main lefty. I do think he is a very good ad. Excited about Newcomb, especially him in a relief role. He could go 2 to 3 innings for the White Sox if they need him out of the bullpen. He can also start if they need him to. But I also think he could be a high leverage lefty guy. If you have Soto coming up, you're playing the Mets. I think they come to what's it called, guarantee rate this year. If Soto's coming up, you could throw him against Soto. I think that he's decent enough against lefties where you shouldn't see him flail. Maybe he won't strike out Juan Soto. Maybe he'll go up a homer to Juan Soto. But I think for most time he could be average to above average versus same-handedness. The righty situation is a lot more clear. Closer, Sir Anthony Dominguez. Grant Taylor, I think, will be a high leverage arm. They're not afraid to throw him in multi-inning situations as well. He wants to start. We talked to him at Sox Fest. It seems like 2027, he'd like to be a starter. That's not surprising to hear. Will it actually happen? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to mean he's going to be a starter for the White Sox in 2026, though. Maybe we do see 3-inning outings from him, though. But I think mostly you'll see him in high leverage or him pitch 2 innings of high leverage. I don't think you'll see him over 3 innings. Along with Dominguez and Taylor, you have Leisure as a righty, Vassell as a righty, and Jordan Hicks as a righty. There's 2 spots that I do think are available to win out of spring training. There's Alexander Alberto, a Rule 5 pick. They got him from Tampa. And then Jetixon Paez, he was their first pick of the Rule 5 draft. They got him from Boston. He is currently a top 10 prospect for the White Sox. The issue is he hasn't pitched above double A ball. Hasn't pitched above any of the, I think A advanced A is the highest he's gotten up there. So these are 2 pitchers that have no experience at A ball or higher. So it's not unrealistic to think that if they had bad spring trainings, they just send them back to their original teams. Guys that are fighting for current spots, Brandon Eisert, he's a lefty. Wouldn't it be shocking if they wanted to get one more lefty into the mix? It's currently only Newcomb in the bullpen that is a lefty. Prelander Baroa is coming off Tommy John. I'm not sure what his current timeline is. That is a guy that throws 100 when he's fully healthy. So if he's throwing 100, I doubt that he's in Charlotte much long or for very long. If he's cracking triple digits, I could see Baroa making it up to the White Sox 26-man roster. Iriarte cleared waivers, which isn't so surprising. I don't think he has a chance to make the opening day roster because he is fairly bad. They have a decent amount of swingmans, and I don't know if they're fully done with Wikelman Gonzalez as a starter. I think it should. They wanted to see if Wikelman can make it to the majors as a reliever, but if they have the need for starters, I wouldn't be shocked if Gonzalez pitches as a starter in Charlotte. Brian Hudson was released. I don't think he was. I'm not sure if he cleared or not. So I'll have to check in on Brian Hudson. But Chris Murphy, they got in a trade for Boston, and then Tyler Gilbert, currently on the 40-man roster. I moved him off of the bullpen with Newcomb sliding from the rotation to the bullpen. But Tyler Gilbert was the most recent addition onto the, or he was the most recent player in the bullpen before the Fedde signing today. So I think Gilbert is most likely to be on the opening day roster if it's not Alberto or Paez. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We'll come back and talk about the lineup. Our guy B-Dams was wondering about the lineup. I will give you my lineup for lefties and righties. We'll talk about the players that will likely make it hitting-wise, the 13 hitters that will make it opening day, and then we'll talk about any questions that you have in the chat. We're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. For all the right reasons,
call 866-4-SEASONS.
Thank you, Sarah. Winter is here. Is your home's heating up for the challenge? If not, call our friends over at Four Seasons. Now is the time for your Four Seasons furnace tune-up. You may be able to handle the 40s or maybe the 30s that currently are in Chicago, but you know that it will go back to zeros sooner than later. So check out our friends over at Four Seasons. At Four Seasons, they guarantee same-day installation for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, electrical, and generator needs with no extra charges for nights, weekends, or holidays. And you can save up to $4,000 on furnace and comfort systems with Four Seasons heating, air conditioning, plumbing, sewer, and electric. Furnaces start at $39 a month, and furnace AC combos for $57 a month. Call today and save $50 from your trusted local experts. Four Seasons are your trusted local experts for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, sewer, and electric, and they've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Four Seasons, again, is your trusted local experts. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Ray CDJR at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. They are trying to get you into a brand new car. So go check out the Auto Show sales event this month. You can get a great deal over at Ray CDJR on Route 12 today, and you can choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. And right now you can get 0% financing for 72 months on new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is here to help you during each step of your car shopping journey, and you could walk in with complete confidence because they prioritize affordability, and you know you won't overpay for your next vehicle because of Ray's Price Promise. The price you see is the price you pay with no add-ons or hidden fees ever. Again, the price you see is the price you pay. It's very simple at Ray CDJR. So go check out our partner with one of Chicago's area's largest inventories and check out the right vehicle for you at Ray CDJR. Don't miss out on the Auto Show sales event for huge savings on new models. For more information, visit Ray CDJR on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Welcome back to the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio West of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. We won't be in the West Loop of Chicago on March 5th to the 8th, as we will be down in Arizona for our CHGO road trip to spring training. The 5th to the 8th, we will be in Arizona, presented by our friends over at Shady Rays. Use code CHGO at shadyrays.com to get 35% off polarized sunglasses. But you can come watch a Bulls game. You could come be a part of a golf event. You could come watch a White Sox game. And if you're a baseball sicko, you could go watch some Cubs games. We have the event of a lifetime. Opportunity of a lifetime to go join us in Arizona. Go over to allchgo.com/events, and you can check us out either a la carte. You can just go to the baseball game, the White Sox baseball game. You could just go to the golf event. You could just go to the Bulls thing, or you can join us and do the entire weekend there. We also have a Q&A that I know people are going to make the trip over to at it's not Four Seasons. It's not. It's got a kitschy name. It's
I don't know where you guys
Two
are
Pours.
staying. Two Pours.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
I'll
But you'll
figure
be
it
there.
but we'll be there, and that's what's
there.
most important. Hell yeah, Sarah. Good save. Yeah, no, I know our guy Ben, who listens to the show, is going to be there. Poor decisions, but it's not P-O-O-R. It's P-O-U-R because they pour beer.
All the information is in the link in the chat, so just click on it and get your credit card out and buy a ticket.
There you go. All right, let's jump into some Chris Getz stuff from Arizona right now. Bruce Levine's the only person to tweet anything about what Chris Getz had to say, so it must not have been too involved of a media session. The only thing that Bruce is tweeting out is that Getz says Teal and Carroll will work exclusively as catchers this season, and this leads into the next question from our guy BDams92 in our diehard Discord. Looking at the rotation, looking at the bullpen, looking at the lineup, I feel like I've given you my rotation and bullpen projections. I think they'll likely start with those two Rule 5 guys in the opening day roster. When we talked to Gene Watson, he seemingly was very down for the idea of taking on projects for this White Sox team. Paez is a very highly thought of prospect, so I at least think that they will at least see them on opening day. If Paez really is terrible and they don't use him for the first month, maybe they can it and go to somebody else. But I do think that they at least want to check out the potential of these players, and they did see the reward in both Vassell and Shane Smith last year. So I don't think that they're going to get off the pot too quick. Let's look at the batters, though. Obviously, Teal and Carroll are going to make the team. Shocker. First base, Munetaka Murakami. Shocker. Second baseman, I have Chase Mydroth. I think my hottest take of this entire segment will be that I do think Chase Meidroth can possibly be in Charlotte opening day. He does have options. He does have some ability to go down to AAA. Maybe he doesn't show exactly what they want him to show. They, I think, wanted him to be more aggressive up at the major league level. If he does show some passivity, maybe they send him down, because while Acuna has the ability to play center field, he wasn't playing the infield because of Lindor and McNeil. Meidroth is not Lindor and McNeil. So if they are finding some sort of crunch, Meidroth does have an option. Maybe Meidroth moves down and Acuna plays second. But for right now, I have Meidroth at second base. Shortstop, Colson Montgomery. Third base, Miguel Vargas. Left field, the newly signed Austin Hayes. In center field, we're going to put Everson Pereira. In right field, we'll put Brooks Baldwin. DH, Andrew Benintendi. Bench, Lenyn Sosa. Luis Angel Acuna. Edgar Caro. And then we'll put Corey Lee. Because if they are going to be Teal and Caro exclusively at catcher, and there is no defensive flexibility, these guys need to be in the lineup fairly consistently. And when we looked recently, about a month ago, they played a ton together in the lineup in September when Corey Lee was on the bench. When they weren't, it was pretty much every other day, Teal in the lineup, Teal off, Caro in the lineup, Caro off, Teal in the lineup. There wasn't a lot of flexibility with only those two catchers on the roster. So I think for the sake of development and for the sake that just Caro's a pretty decent hitter against righties, I think that you're going to see three catchers on this roster. So right now, I would take Derek Hill off the roster. I don't think Derek Hill makes the roster. And I would put Pereira in center field. I would then put right field, could be roving, but Brooks Baldwin, right? And then Corey Lee will pretty much just sit there and just hang out. And that's just what he's going to do. Maybe he gives these guys a break every now and then, but I do think Corey Lee is going to give them the chance to have some flexibility. We look at the lineup versus lefties, and I think we still have this graphic. No, we deleted it. Okay. Versus lefties, Meidroth leading off, playing second base. Batting second, catcher Caro. Batting third, left field, Austin Hayes. Batting fourth, first base, Munetaka Murakami. Batting fifth, third base, Miguel Vargas. Batting sixth, shortstop, Colson Montgomery. Batting seventh, DH, Lenyn Sosa. Batting eighth, center fielder, Luis Angel Acuna. Batting ninth, right fielder, Everson Pereira. Then versus righties, catcher Teal. Batting leadoff. Batting second, third baseman, Miguel Vargas. Batting third, Colson Montgomery, shortstop. Batting fourth, first baseman, Munetaka Murakami. Batting fifth, left fielder, Benintendi. I only want to see him versus righties. And I really don't want to see him as a DH. I know that was a big thing with Getz, is that he wants to see Benny as the designated hitter, but he has to play defense if you're going to have Caro and Teal be strictly just catchers. Batting sixth, right fielder Brooks Baldwin. Batting seventh, DH Edgar Caro. Batting eighth, second baseman Chase Meidroth. And then center field, if they're not carrying Lee, I could see it being Derek Hill, but likely if they're carrying Lee, that means no Hill, or it means no Everson Pereira. It's either Pereira or Hill in center field, but I'll put Pereira there against righties in right field. So, yeah, that's the 26-man roster that I currently have. We are still 11 days out from the first game. We are still 1 day away from pitchers and catchers even reporting, and we are, about 5 days away from the first full workout. So we'll have to see. And again, Acuna, I think he's in center field. I have him against lefties in center field, and I think they'll work him in whether Meidroth needs a day off at second base, whether Colson needs a day off at shortstop. I wouldn't think they'd be opposed to putting him at shortstop. I think that they're going to put him wherever there's an opportunity. But again, just if it is their first game against the lefty, their first game versus a righty, I think those will be the lineups. But baseball lineups are breathing, living organisms. Every day can be different, and Acuna will be worked in at center field. So I don't know if he'll play righty specifically because they want him to succeed, and he didn't do too well against righties. So putting him in only against lefties, I think that would be digestible for him. I think he'll also get pinch run opportunities a ton. He is fairly fast and fleet of foot, so I think you'll see enough and a decent amount of Acuna. But I think it will be a little bit. They'll pick their spots with Acuna. I don't think they're just going to play him every single day. they're really excited about his talent, but I don't think they want to drown him in his first time over here with the White Sox. Because, again, if they can get him to see success, that confidence should grow. And we know how well Ronald plays with confidence. Maybe Luis would be similar to just build up that confidence. I don't think he'll be like his brother, but hey, one could hope and dream. Where are we at time-wise, Sarah? Do we have to go to 45? Yeah. What's the deal with fast? What's the deal with airplane food?
The deal with airplane food is that it sucks.
It's true.
Unless you have a lot of money, which I don't have enough money to enjoy the luxuries of good airplane food. But
who doesn't love a snack?
I love a good snack.
You know?
No, the deal with Fast Channel, CHGO White Sox is on Fast Channel now, so
right.
shout out us.
So do we have to go 45 minutes?
So we do have to go 45.
All right, great. Well, then I got a perfect topic for
I was
the
going to
next
say, don't
4
you have
minutes.
some news and bolts or something?
We got through most of the news and bolts. Again, we're really excited for baseball to start because it will give us something to talk about. But I think the one thing that sticks out, or at least has been interesting, it's not surprising that they included this person into Munetaka Murakami's first workouts with the White Sox. But Riku Nishida was a part of that first day with Munetaka Murakami. Riku was a part of the 2023 draft class for the White Sox, an 11th rounder out of Oregon. He's 5'6", 150, very small, but he is, I think, the internet's favorite player, White Sox Twitter fans' favorite player. He's extremely exciting. He used to use a wood bat in college, which just made me very, I adore him for that fact. And even in summer ball, he did very, very well. Typically where players that are smaller don't do too well because you do have to use a wood bat in summer ball. And he just seems to have a knack to use a wood bat. At Oregon, 2023, he hit 312, 394 on base percentage, and a 443 slugging percentage. I know that's not too impressive, but even then in his pro years, 2023, he was a guy that in his small amount of games, 20 games, 8 walks, 9 strikeouts, didn't have that high of an average, but in 2024 came back a 304 average, a 418 on base percentage. He's not much of a slugger. Again, only a 362 slugging percentage. So that ISO percentage is what, 62 minus 4. 0.058 is not too impressive from a major league standard, let alone from an A ball, high A ball, and double A ball. But last year in Birmingham, 75 walks to 69 strikeouts. He stole 40 bags, got caught stealing 12 times, and again, 273 average, 403 on base percentage, 308 slugging percentage. The slug is not there. It's a lot of singles for Nishida. So I don't know if he's ever going to be a major leaguer. But seeing him with Munetaka, I do like that he has a role. He has a place with this White Sox organization. I would just die for even a game of Riku Nishida at major league level. It would be very, very, very fantastic and exciting to see him. And also the other thing too, he gets hit by pitches a ton. 10 hit by pitches in 2024 and 14 in 2025. Just a very gritty player. We love that word over on the South Side. And a gritty player is Riku Nishida.
Real quick, we have 2 minutes.
Yes.
Who will be the best White Sox player of 2026?
Okay.
Who will be
I think
the
it will
best?
be Munetaka Murakami.
You think he'll be the best player on the roster?
I think it will be
on the
Munetaka
team?
Murakami. He'll be the best player. He's about to be 26.
Okay.
He's a little bit more advanced than anyone on the team currently, at least hitting wise, just because of his age. There's barely anyone over 30 years old. I think currently the only one that's over 30 is Benintendi. So I think Murakami at least will be able to have some sort of consistency. He's been a pro for 4 years, not a major league player, but the NPB isn't too much of a rung down. It's above AAA, so he has at least been doing this at a professional level in front of 40,000 people for 4 straight years. So I think he can handle the pressure, and I think he's just going to be fairly consistent. Ryan throws out Teal, which isn't a bad choice. It's got to be a position player though. I don't think any of the pitchers are going to dazzle. I don't think you're going to have a Cy Young. And blank name throws out Montgomery. Colson just has a real tough shot at it because the 71 games, the 21 homers or whatever is really absurd, and it's such a tough benchmark to hit again. So even if he hits 21 homers this year, it will be somewhat like deflating because he'll hopefully have like 140 plus games. if he's only reaching the benchmark that he had in 70 games, it will be a little disappointing, but he won't have that consistency that I think Murakami will. Murakami, I think, will have a higher batting average, higher on base percentage, where Colson might hit more homers than him, but it might be a struggle for entire months for Colson, where Murakami might have some bad series, maybe some bad weeks. But I think he's due for at least a homer every 2 weeks. And, even in a 2 week span, I think he can hit like 6. So I think Murakami will be the best player for the Sox in 2026. But I think it's either Teo, Murakami, or Montgomery, and it's really only those 3. All bad Enzo. It's a sweet name. He says, I'm going to say Vargas has a true breakout year this year. He didn't have pop against lefties, and maybe that's a place where he could show some growth there. He wasn't, as a right-handed hitter, that good against lefties. You'd expect a little bit more with the platoon advantage, so maybe that's a spot where Vargas can pick up a little bit of slack and add a little bit of strength. The slug was not there against lefties, and maybe that is one part where Vargas is able to pick up his game a little bit. And if he is able to show that he's an average defender or even slightly above average at third base, he could carve out at least a spot for the White Sox in 2027, because I don't think Bonham will be ready. Cholowski likely won't be on the 27 opening day roster. There's a shot, but we'll get there when we get there. Anyways, that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. Thank you to all of us for hanging out with you, or thank you to all of you in the chat for hanging out with us. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll be back tomorrow and Wednesday at 5 p.m. for more White Sox talk. Pitchers and catchers report tomorrow, so we'll have actual baseball stuff to talk about. Woohoo! We'll see you then. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.